I wanted a hatchet to keep at my winter camp year-round for making kindling and other small jobs. I found this guy at a flea market a little while back, and it's actually in really good shape. You know, sometimes doing a full restoration is fun, where the axe head's rusted, the handle's falling apart, but it's also good to find something that doesn't need a lot of work. This hatchet still needs a little bit of work before it's practical and before I call it my own. One thing I don't like is to have varnish on the handle. It's very slippery during the winter, and there's a few different ways you can remove it. You can use a spoke shave, sandpaper, or a card scraping tool. I made a new one for myself out of this old handsaw. You just need some hardened steel with a sharp edge that's got a burr, and it works really good for removing varnish, and that's my first step. That's probably the fastest I ever removed varnish from a handle. Maybe took a few minutes. I've also never been a fan of having paint on the head. I know it's very practical and I've been tempted to do it a few times, but I'm going to use this wire wheel and remove all the paint. I just cleaned up the head with the wire wheel and some sandpaper. I noticed there's a few dings. Someone was using this for a hammer. So I have an axe file, coarse side and a fine side. I'm just going to shave down all those little burrs and dings. So I'm checking the angle of the bit, and we're sitting at about 25 degrees, which is pretty good. Means I won't have to reprofile this at all. So after I cleaned up the head with this wire wheel, I seen that it needed some filing. I did some of that. Hit it with this little sanding tip. Always checking to make sure the head's not getting hot. And then I hit it again with this smaller wire wheel. Looks a lot better. In this container I have some homemade wood conditioner. It's also good for leather and metal as well. It's made of palm oil and beeswax, but any type of oil will work, like plant-based, coconut, olive oil, stuff like that. I'm just going to condition this handle and then put a paracord wrap on it. I have about 15 feet of bright orange paracord. There's a few reasons why I put a wrap on the handle. First of all, it's bright orange, so if I put down my hatchet, I'm not going to lose it. Never hurts to have some cordage with you, and it protects the handle at the same time. It's been quite a few years since I've done this. Put your paracord like that with your loop down the handle, a little bit sticking out over top of the head. And you begin to wrap it. Every now and then I stop, make sure it's nice and tight. Keep going. I think that's plenty long. Then you run your end through that loop. Then you pull on this end here. And it pulls that loose end underneath the wrap. And you just trim off both ends. I have a little bit of scrap leather. I'm going to make a sheath for it. Before I started stitching everything up, I thought I'd show you my design. Very basic. Fold it over like that and it's got a belt loop. I always save the sharpening for the last, just safer to do that. I could probably spend another hour working on that edge, and one night when I'm sitting around the fire, that's probably what I'll do when I have time. So just to do a quick recap, I scraped all the varnish off the handle, conditioned the wood, polished up the head, put a wrap on the handle, made a sheath, conditioned it, wood burned my name into the handle and in the leather, sharpened it, and that's it. It's all ready for camp.